Hey everybody, today we're talking about Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 13, Hobgoblin. Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent. More Ultimate Spider-Man today. This is Volume 13, Hobgoblin. This kind of wraps up the Osborn saga so far, right? We met Harry Osborn in Volume 1 of Ultimate Spider-Man. We met him again briefly in Volume 4, and again in Volume 9 with the Ultimate 6 storyline. Well, he's back kind of for a vengeance here in Volume 13, although it doesn't really turn out that way, even though it seems that way. I think the biggest thing about Ultimate Spider-Man so far that makes it so different from the classic storylines is the complete shift of Peter's supporting cast. MJ is there. Gwen Stacy is, well, she's not there anymore, but she was there for the first couple of 10 volumes or so. And the Harry Osborn, Liz Allen, all that stuff is kind of gone. Like Harry Osborn is not really Peter's best friend in this storyline. He's more of like a character on the side, and since he has so many issues with his dad, he's in and out of the book all the time. Mainly mental institutions or whatever. We meet him here at the beginning of this volume, kind of like on a mountaintop talking to Nick Fury, like, you're taking care of my dad, right? Like, why he's being told he's free to go. So that's kind of what's going on here. So what's up with Harry? Harry and Gwen have some history that we find out about here, and ultimately this is the book that just makes Peter decide that, Mary Jane or having a girlfriend is not really right for him at this point in life. And I think he's right, honestly. He tells Mary Jane multiple times in this volume and other volumes too, hey, stay away, be careful, this guy's dangerous, and there's stuff going on, and he can't take the time out to tell the whole story, per se. And specifically with Mary Jane in this volume, he tells her explicitly, like, there's something going on with Harry, stay away from him, and then he has to go run to an emergency. And Mary Jane, just being a teenage girl, wanting to do her own thing or whatever the case is, doesn't listen to him. And there's a couple times in here where she's actively putting her life in danger, and I feel like Peter's absolutely right when he makes that call at the end of the book to be like, yo, I told you so. I told you for a reason. You didn't listen. What do you want from me? Just kind of like lets her have it. I feel like he's totally right there. Even though, yeah, he could have taken the time to explain more things, but he's a teenager, right? Like, who the hell knows? Another big thing in here is cellar door, the catchphrase or code name for Harry to turn into the Hobgoblin, spoilers. Is he really the Hobgoblin? He never really gets a name. It's just the name of the storyline. Like, this is his form here. He's just the yellow version of whatever his dad is in the Ultimate Universe. There's no glider. There's no pumpkin bombs. And there's no really threat of him coming back either. And I think that was the biggest thing to me too. That was like, that's a bummer. So I know Ultimate Spider-Man's only, 22 issues long with these covers, and then another 5 issues before we switch over to Miles. So I get it, but it's just like, man, I wish we could have had a little bit more with the Green Goblins, even though we've seen them 3 times so far. The Hobgoblin thing was like, man, I really, I don't know. I just know it's different in the regular 616 universe, the regular Marvel Comics line, and to see it kind of get short shrift here was kind of a bummer. Mark Bagley's still here, man. He's still killing it. I think my biggest thing in this volume is I'm starting to notice more and more often these double-page spreads of books or panels where you kind of can tell that it's a double-page spread. There were other times, I'll tell you, in this book where I was fooled, and I was like, wait, that's a double-page spread, and it wasn't really clear. There's a lot of times where, like this particular spread here, in a single issue, it works really good, but in Bendis deconstructing and writing for the trade, right, you've got a little sliver of a panel over here, and that's meant to tell you that it's a double-page spread. In a comic book, yeah, you'd be able to read it entirely and not know the difference, but the binding on these little trade paperbacks, or if you're in an omnibus, or hell, if they ever do like a updated epic line of the Ultimate Universe, I feel like it's going to be very difficult to tell where the double-page spreads are. There are some spreads in this volume, I think in the past couple, that have been even slimmer margins here of the panel on the left, that you're like, wait a minute, that's it's a double-page spread. I meant to read it this way, not on one page and then the other. So that's the only thing that's kind of getting a little annoying. Then you have other spreads like this one where, you know, the panels kind of line up a little bit on the top. So you're thinking, is it a double page spread because it's the same scene? But it's not. It's one page and then the second page. So that's starting to get annoying, and I don't know if that is Bagley or Bendis writing it in the script, but I'm getting a little tired of that, to be honest. But I feel like that's a Bendis thing. I think I remember it in the new Avengers also. But, you know, I had fun with this volume. I think that there's a lot of the high school drama in this volume. I think that keeps it fresh and keeps it different from a lot of just regular, more superhero comic books and stuff like that. One thing Bendis does really have a good handle on here is the supporting cast, the high school feelings, and this book being, you know, 20 years old from when I was in high school also just brings me back to that era in my life, honestly. I think is the bigger deal of like, oh yeah, there's no cell phones, there's no internet, there's no Google, everything's not instantly available. You're dealing with flip phones and unloaned callers and all sorts of stuff. And, you know, all the smartphone technology is not here. So it brings me back to like a relatable level. Whereas some stuff here, if you're reading it for the first time, you'd be like, yo, why wouldn't he just text her? Well, not everybody had cell phones. There's no texting. Like that wasn't a thing back when I was in high school. So it's fun to revisit that time in my life here. So I don't know if you're like a new reader that you would appreciate it. Just know like, hey, it's set in the past 20 years ago before all that stuff was hip and cool. And we didn't have that back then. You know, we had to rely on our parents' phones to call each other. So there you have it. Everybody had a landline. There were very few people at that time that had cell phones. I think most people had cell phones maybe by the time I was a senior in 2004. Definitely by the time I went to college, a lot of the college kids had it. But in terms of high school students, it was like half and half when I was in school in the first half of the 2000s. So yeah. Anyway, I thought this was fun. I think the downside is, yeah, this is the end of the Harry Osborn story arc, even though there wasn't really an arc. We never really got to know him as a character. So it's kind of tragic in that way that this is the end of his little shift in the Ultimate Universe. So that's a bummer. So let me know what you guys thought of Hobgoblin down below in the comments. We'll see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.